we have placed an image in Illustrator, what I want to do is I want to trace it, okay? So I've placed this image as a template. So now I'm going to use my pen tool. Now, we've worked a little bit with the curvature tool, but the pen tool will also make curved lines, and that's actually how I prefer to do it. So right now I have, the last tool I was using was the Add Anchor Point tool, because you know in each of these is more tools. So right click it, and you can see you've got the pen tool, Add Anchor Point, Delete Anchor Point, and Anchor Point tool. So I want the pen tool. Okay, so if we just use the pen tool and we just click, click, and click, and click, and click, right, we get straight lines. And that's obviously not going to work for this drawing, okay? So what you can do is when you're using the pen tool, and I'll show you with this curve here, you can click and then go to where you want your next point to be and shift click and drag, okay? And it will make a curved line. So let me show you that again. Click. I'm not gonna try and do the whole curve. I'm just gonna do a little bit at a time. So I'm gonna click around here, but I'm gonna press shift and click at the same time and then drag, and it will give me a curve. Now, obviously, I can't get this exactly right, and that's okay. All right, so I'm gonna click off of it. And with your curved lines, you also have, with your anchor points, excuse me, you'll have handles, all right? So when I clicked on the direct selection tool, all of a sudden this anchor and this handle popped up, okay? So your anchor is where you click, and your handle is how you can adjust the curve. So I can take this and go up and down, okay? Kind of slightly move it, okay? So I can also come in and add another anchor point. All right, so as I click, I can go, or as I right click on the pen tool, you'll see the Add Anchor Point tool. And as you're working with complex curves, you may want to do this, okay? So in here, I want this to come out a little bit. So I can click, I'll add an anchor point there, go back to my direct selection tool. Now I'm actually going to drag the anchor itself out a little bit. And it's not letting me, so I need to use my bracket key. To make subtle movements, you really need to use your bracket key. All right, so that looks pretty good, okay? So just by adding that anchor point and moving it, I was able to get a better curve. Again, because you have an anchor point here, you now have handles, so you can play around with that, okay? But in this case, I really didn't need to. Okay, so obviously I could fix this a little bit, but for our purposes, I'm just gonna keep going. All right, so I'm gonna go back to the pen tool. Okay, I'm going to click, and I'm going to shift click. All right, again, I can come in, and you'll get good at this. You'll get to where you can do it pretty quickly, and you can adjust these curves really, really nicely. But the pen tool just takes a little practice. So I'm going to click up to the top, shift click. Yeah, oh, perfect. Well, of course, almost perfect. Grab my direct selection tool and the handle, come down. Okay, so you see we're just clicking and then clicking where I want the curve to end and then shift click. So for these like little points, I could probably do it in one go. This is a little bit harder. We might have been able to do it in one go, but you'll just have to play around with it. All right, so I'm actually going to start here and go up to my point, shift click, and drag. All right, so that's kind of good for now, but I'll need to adjust that a little bit. And then I'm going to add a handle, an anchor point in here so I can move that down. So add anchor point. And I can probably just drag the anchor point down. But again, I kind of need to use my bracket key. I need to use the handles. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And again, I'm not really, because this is a rough sketch, I'm not really looking for it to be perfect. Um, I just am using this as a guide, okay? Now, I'm not going to trace this whole thing for you guys. Just play around with the pen tool. But I'm going to do these circles. Let's go over here. Again, you have, if you right click the ellipse tool, you have a rectangle tool, rectangle tool, polygon tool, blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to come over here, and I've just drawn these circles kind of as a guide for me, but in my head, I was like, I want these all to be the same size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift click and drag to the size I want it to be. And I'm going to drag it up here, and let's look at that. Yeah, that looks good, okay? So let's say I love the size of this circle, and I want to repeat it, okay? So I'm going to come back to my ellipse tool and just click, and this little box is going to come up, and it's going to have the width and the height, and that's the size of the last circle that I made. I'm going to press OK. Okay, so it's going to give me the exact same circle. I can click again, press OK, drag it where I want it to be, click again, press OK, drag it where I want it to be, click again, press OK, drag it over, again, press OK, drag it over. Okay, so that's one way to make circles that are all the same size. All right, so I'm going to click off of it. Now you'll notice too that my my line's pretty thick. That's because I changed the stroke size to 5 points up at the top. Okay, so you can adjust that. So I can go up. Now the only thing that's selected is that one circle, which is totally fine. But let's say I want to. I'm gonna select all. Okay, and what I did there, just a little quick thing. I can either click, shift click, shift click, shift click, shift click, shift click, shift click, and it selects everything. Or while I'm on my selection tool, I can click and drag over everything and it will select it. And now I can come into the stroke and I can change it. Say I want to change it to like 20. Oh, okay. Which I think looks kind of cool, and you can play around with that. So let's say I've traced this whole thing, and I'm not going to trace the whole thing right now because you don't want to just watch me do that. But let's say I've traced this whole thing, and I'm ready to get rid of the template, okay? Because I don't need the template anymore because I've traced it and I have the image. So I'm going to go up to Window, and I'm going to come down to Layers. Now, your layers may be over here. Mine never are, just because the way I set my my Illustrator up. So I'm going to click Layers. And I have layer 1, which is the drawing, and then I have template drawing. And over here, I'm just going to click the visibility off and come back, and there you go. Okay? Now, if you need to get it back, you can go back to layers and click it back on. Okay? So, once you're done with it, you can just click it off and it's gone. Okay? It's not gone, but you won't see it anymore. Okay, so this is a really, really great way to work. It's a great way to start with a sketch and an idea and get it into Illustrator and really flesh it out. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, please email me and I will talk to you soon. Bye.